YouTube, what up? Right now we got the most overrated player on each NBA team right now in the Western Conference. Shout out to Hoop Reference. It's a great basketball channel. For the most part, I be agreeing with his takes. But he had Shea in his thumbnail, so I'm gonna go ahead and say this before because sometimes it might be deceiving. You know, he might be just trying to get clicks or whatever. Shea is not overrated. I thought so last year, right? I'm like, man, yeah, Shea, he put up some good numbers, but I started watching him in the summer. And then he started doing it again during this season. And I'm like, yeah, that nigga the truth. And he know it. And then I started like looking him up and shit. They like, he got a good work ethic. So I'm like, yeah, I'm always a fan of that. So that nigga, and he my MVP. He my MVP for the season, bro. Straight up, I want him to get it. I want a young nigga to get it. Straight up. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it though. If you like the video, drop $1 in my cash app. Support your boy.
This topic in my last video, and today we're here to finish it off. Basically, we're going through all 30 NBA teams and we're picking out the most overrated player from each squad. Now, it does need to be said that just because a player is overrated doesn't mean they can't also be incredibly talented and productive players, but it simply means that their reputation exceeds the reality of what they are as players in the eyes of the general public. Last video, we went through the teams in the Eastern Conference, so today we'll be finishing up by going through all of the teams in the Western Conference. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider it. It was hard to make a pick for the Mavericks because most guys on the...
Tim, he's not really overrated. No, he ain't overrated. He's not overrated. He's a microwave, and I like Tim Hardaway. He's a third option. Really a fourth option on the championship team. But he's not overrated. He just picking somebody. If I were to pick somebody on the Mavericks...
Honestly, a bit underrated, but THJ is a player who seems to only find himself as a topic of discussion during one of his occasional scorching hot shooting nights, and is one of the leaders in the Sixth Man of the Year race because of it. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be there, because he definitely does, but the reality is that he's incredibly streaky and has just as many nights where his poor shot selection results in...
Who's overrated on the Mavs?
Next up is the Denver Nuggets, and their most overrated player right now is Michael Porter Jr.
100%.
The Nuggets are another...
And I like Michael Porter Jr., but ever since he had that back injury in college, he ain't been that same player, that same explosive, aggressive player, because y'all be shooting this shit, which he's a good shooter.
He's a comfortable player, letting it fly from anywhere on the court, and trust me, he will do just that.
Oh, God.
He's also not necessarily an elite scorer, putting up a modest 16 points per game, and he's not necessarily someone impacting the other areas of the game either. Up next is the Golden State Warriors, and their most overrated player is Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Most of the year, the Warriors...
And Klay, one of my favorite shooting guards ever.
The ultimate green light that he's had for most of his career, because for most of his career, he was one of the best shooters of the basketball the game has ever seen. That, however, is no longer the case. Not only is Klay getting to the point where he's no longer shooting the ball nearly as well as he used to, but the other parts of his game that he also used to be great at, such as perimeter defense, have also started to fade. So
but I think him not, because once you're a shooter, you're always a shooter. So I think it's really in his mind.
Green is now 3 years into his career after being...
I like Jalen Green. I'm a fan of Jalen Green. I just don't like it that nigga be painting his fingernails and shit. But I think it's because he doesn't really be out. Well, I really don't be watching the Rockets, but just me being biased and me just coming up with a take, I think it's because they're not really running that many plays for Jalen Green, because they running it, and rightfully so. I can't think of his name. They call him Baby Joker. He remind me of Paul Gasol, really. And then Fred VanVleet, he be getting a shot. So Jalen Green be kind of, but I don't know, man. He got to get in there. I mean, he be in the lab. He be working on this game, but I don't know.
Drafted second overall in 2021, under the guise that he could blossom into an elite go-to scoring talent. After putting up about 22 points per game last season, he convinced many that he could be the next great young shooting guard on the rise through the ranks. But this year has been pretty eye-opening for the reality of Jalen Green, and unfortunately it hasn't been for the better. The Rockets have started to make competitive moves to get themselves on the right track.
That dunk was
but
crazy.
Green has really struggled to acclimate to that, and the fact that he's shooting worse than he ever has at any point in his career this season when real pressure has begun to apply itself is not a great look at his ceiling. Up next is the Los Angeles Clippers, and their most overrated player is Terrence Mann. This summer, we saw Mann get treated like an untouchable
Oh God, they was doing that.
Peak of the James
Oh God, they was doing that.
It blows my mind because he's already 27 years old and is a good role player at best. He's putting up about 8 points per game, and he plays
27? I thought that was like 25.
And the Clippers have performed better with him on the bench this season. So for the team to absolutely refuse to even consider putting him in an offer for a superstar is crazy in hindsight.
Oh
Up
God,
next
it
is
is.
the Los Angeles Lakers, and their most overrated player right now is Austin Reeves. The Reeves hype train hit peak levels at the end of last season when he emerged in the playoffs as a reliable creator, and this summer he was picked to play for Team USA in the World Cup squad that notably disappointed everyone. Coming into this season, people were talking about Reeves as a potential all-star in the making. And
Oh,
yet,
hell no.
towards the way through the season,
And I fuck with Austin Reeves. He an Arkansas boy.
of a go-to
Come on, huh?
consistently, as his scoring efficiency is down, his
Here's one thing you need to do before you buy anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
scoring
I
is
know you lying.
marginally up overall, and his averages of 15 points and 5 assists per game don't warrant the type of hype that he came in with. Next is the Memphis Grizzlies, and
Oh God, I can't stand this nigga, bro.
rated player right now is
As a
Jaren
player.
Jackson Jr. Jaren is
As
the
a
reigning
player.
defensive player
Not as a
of the year,
person, as a
but
player.
this season when the Grizzlies needed him to step up on both sides of the ball, he showed that he couldn't hold things together in Ja Morant's absence. Jaren is shooting just 44% from the field, which is really poor for a center. He's a subpar three-point shooter despite being a big man that likes shooting from deep, and with his offensive
ugly, that
role
funky
this
ass jump
season,
shot.
his defensive impact has definitely taken a bit of a nosedive as well, simultaneously still having issues, committing too many fouls on a regular basis. Up next is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
He's not
Their
overrated.
most overrated player right now is Karl Anthony Towns.
He's not
Again, The
overrated.
Wolves are a group that don't really have someone who clearly stands
Disagree.
out as overrated by the public, and while Rudy Gobert might be the one that comes to mind for some of you, it's really hard to discredit the fact that his presence is the biggest reason why they're the league's top-ranked defense. Towns has been in the, quote, best big man conversations for years now, yet has had to slide into the role of third most important player on his own team in order for them to finally find
Third most important? You got your
Next is
goddamn
the
mind?
Pelicans, and their most overrated player right now is Zion Williamson. Credit where credit is due, Zion has for the most part been healthy and able to stay on the court this year, but it's also been arguably his worst season of his career. He's scoring less frequently than ever, he's grabbing fewer rebounds than ever, and the Pelicans actually perform 6.9 points better without him on the court. So with a combination of his effort not always being there every game, and his lack of aggression compared to prior seasons, the hype he's been surrounded by has definitely surpassed him. Next up is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and their
This is crazy. I'm curious on what he gonna say.
overrated player right now is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is basically only the case because the Thunder's roster is almost entirely made up
Josh Kiddey is the most overrated player on the Thunder, nigga.
of underrated players. Shai is in the MVP conversation this year, as he rightfully should be, but I hear way too many people describe him as quote-unquote carrying a mediocre Thunder roster to their success.
Who the hell said that? He just making this shit up now. Man, the Thunder is good. And everybody know it. They're a good-ass team.
Which could not be further from the truth, as the Thunder have an incredibly deep rotation filled with
Yeah, bro,
talent and
Buggin. I don't know
organization.
what the fuck he
Up
talking
next
about.
is the Phoenix
I was
Suns,
trying
and
to
their
say.
most overrated player right now is Bradley Beal. Beal was a big acquisition for the team in the summer to form a star-studded Big Three, but Beal at this point in his career is both carrying one of the worst contracts in the entire league and is just no longer an all-star caliber player. He puts up a modest 18.
I don't think that's the case. I just think he just injured. Niggas be so quick to write motherfuckers off. I feel like he just need to get back. He just need to get healthy. Once he get healthy, I believe he can make another all-star team and be that type of player. You know what I'm saying?
Points per game on slightly above average shooting.
He's not declining.
But it's not.
But his health is concerning.
Year fine. Next up is the Portland Trailblazers.
Oh God, I don't like DeAndre Ayton, man. I don't like that dude, man.
Part of the Damian Lillard trade and his
ain't been doing nothing.
Potential to be a great NBA big man.
Ain't been doing nothing.
One of the biggest reasons why the Blazers accepted the trade that they did. But Ayton has somehow managed to look even less motivated on the court this season than ever before, and despite being on a team with less pressure, his production across the board is lower than it's ever been. Up next is the Sacramento Kings.
You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me!
And their most overrated player is Malik Monk. Monk dominates discussions about this year's Sixth Man of the Year award, but people contend his production is head above the rest of his competition for the award when it just isn't. He's putting up 15 points per game on league average shooting splits and is still very streaky game to game, so you never really know what you're going to get from him each night. Next is the San Antonio Spurs, and their most overrated player is Keldon Johnson. Johnson is a promising rising young talent, but he's now in his 5th season, and his play is actually trending in the wrong direction. He averaged an inefficient 20 points. Collins had wanted out of Atlanta for a while in order to seek a bigger role elsewhere, so when he got to Utah, many expected him to return to the days where he was putting up 20 and 10 on a regular basis, but that has just not been the case. He's an athletic forward with a subpar jumper that can put up solid numbers, but the days of hoping that he could be a star in the making are likely long gone.
Oh yeah, that shit been over with. But if y'all like the video, make y'all like the video, comment, subscribe. What y'all think about his takes? I feel like he had a couple of mishaps. Shea is not overrated. Malik Monk is not overrated. Bradley not. Well, I think that's about it. Zion Williamson is not overrated. He just got to shake back. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments below. I'm gonna fuck with y'all, man. I'm out of here.